pack your bags because we're going to hell in today's movie. Welcome to Sick Flicks, where I take a deep dive into the cinematic sewer to help you embrace your inner gore geek. I'm Mike Bracken, aka the Horror Geek, and today we're tackling Tony Randel's beloved Hellraiser sequel, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Released in 1988, Hellbound has long been my favorite film in the Clive Barker franchise. This one brings back Pinhead and the Cenobites, fills in their backstory, and adds one really cool new monster to the mix as well. If you love the first one, you'll almost assuredly dig this one, and it's got even more gruesome sights to show you. In fact, it was so gruesome, the film originally garnered an X rating before cuts were made to get it to the more conventional R. But enough about that. Can Pinhead and crew slaughter enough sinners to earn a coveted 5 barf bag rating? Let's get to the gore and find out. This week's episode of Sick Flicks is brought to you by one of my best friends, author Ryan Harding. Ryan and I have known each other for almost 30 years now, and it's been a real treat to watch him blossom into one of the bona fide legends of extreme horror fiction. Trust me, this is no exaggeration. He's emerged victorious at the Gross Out competition at the World Horror Convention, and his work has won multiple Splatterpunk awards over the years. His newest collection of stomach-churning depravity, Transcendental Mutilation, debuted in December, and holy shit, it's a horror collection of the year contender. If you love your horror fiction hilariously bleak, full of wildly repugnant yet oddly relatable characters, and featuring enough perversion and splatter to make the Marquis de Sade puke, then this collection is for you. Featuring 10 tales, including Splatterpunk Award winners The Secretor and Angel Bait, Transcendental Mutilation really takes Splatterpunk horror to the next level. I mean, seriously, I can't even tell you what most of these stories are about without getting PruTube on my ass. But trust me, Ryan Harding is the Sultan of Splatter. Reading this collection was like a trip down memory lane to the glory days of Ed Lee, who Ryan collaborated with on Header 3, John Skipp and Craig Spector, and the rest of the Splatterpunks. Seriously, I can't recommend this collection enough. So if you're tired of boring mainstream horror fiction, or want to be gore authors more interested in describing eviscerations than telling a compelling story, you're going to need to add Transcendental Mutilation to your library. No one's even paying me to say this. Ryan's work is that good. So, are you ready to experience the next evolution in extreme horror fiction? You'll find a link to purchase Transcendental Mutilation in the pinned comment and description below. Seriously, this was one of the best things I read in 2023, and I'm delighted to share it with you guys because I'm betting a lot of you will like it too. Thanks again to Ryan for sponsoring today's video. And now, let's get bloody. We fade in on this New World Pictures logo. So you know this is gonna be quality. Much like Warlock, Hellbound was impacted pretty dramatically by New World's financial issues in the late 1980s. The original vision for Hellraiser 2 was far more ambitious than what we actually got, because they had to scale back the budget pretty significantly. We'll go deeper into the details about these changes later. Then we get some very familiar dialogue.
What's your pleasure, sir?
No, I don't know. Getting ripped apart by demons, I guess. And we're gonna rehash the end of the first movie, just in case you forgot. I will say I'm sort of curious why anyone would start with Hellraiser 2, but I guess this Cliff's Notes version of the end of the original is sort of useful.
We have such sights to show you.
And yeah, these effects are still hilariously cheesy. But I will never not get pumped up when the Christopher Young theme music hits. Man, super low effort title card. Guess New World really was broke. Starring Claire Higgins. Yeah, Julia's back. Originally, they conceived of Julia becoming the chief villain of the Hellraiser universe, but Pinhead was so popular with audiences that they scrapped that and kept him as the franchise's antagonist instead. Here's Ashley Lawrence returning as Kirsty. Plus, we've got Doug Bradley back as Pinhead. You may notice that Larry Robinson is missing. They had big plans for Robinson in this sequel, putting him in hell with Frank as a sort of Siamese twin and having him figure prominently in the film's climax. But Robinson didn't want to be involved for some reason, which is a shame, really. Hey, Robin Vidgeon is director of photography. Vidgeon has a rich career, including working on Event Horizon. Yes, and his work here helped shape that film. Oh, sweet, screenplay by my pal Pete Atkins. Last covered his work when I reviewed Wishmaster, based on a story by Clive Barker, which would be his novella, The Hellbound Heart. It's not the Hellraiser you know from the films, but it is definitely worth reading. And directed by Tony Randel. You last saw his work back when I covered Ticks.
See, they call me Panic because I never do.
With the credits over, we get into the movie proper.
BBC London से हिंदी में समाचार सुन रहे हैं।
Wait, is this a movie or one of those radio productions? This is like an early podcast for you kids. Oh, it's an origin story. This is Captain Elliot Spencer, the guy who's about to become Pinhead. Reportedly, there was originally supposed to be more origin story here, but it was scrapped when the budget was cut. It did mostly turn up in Hellraiser 3, though. Man, these Rubik's Cubes sure are challenging. Oh, sweet, it's just a music box. Oh, what the hell? Damn you, Rube Goldberg! And here's our first look into the labyrinth. One of the interesting things about Hellbound is that its interpretation of hell is very different from the Christian concept. Hell here isn't lakes of fire, it's a cold, endless labyrinth. Oh yeah, Elliot's getting nailed. And hammered. What a night. Say what you will, but this is pretty eye-opening. It's sort of like a reverse Fulci. Oh yeah, this is me when the edibles start to hit. Oh, hi there. Kinda creepy to sit there watching her sleep or trip. But wait, it's about to get worse because he's gonna tell her where she is.
This is the Chenard Institute. It's a psychiatric hospital.
Look at Kirsty. She's like, you're out of your ever-loving mind. I mean, her reaction is a lot like mine would be.
Who the fuck are you?
House establishing shot. This one is actually useful. Oh, hey, it's Schrodinger's corpse. He's dead. And it looks like he's bugging out. And jump scare. If that thing wasn't dead already, it sure is now. Meanwhile, Kirsty is thinking deep thoughts. If Cinderella's shoe fit perfectly, why did it fall off? If you were born deaf, what language do you think in? Back at the house, they found a mattress. And it looks like mine after a tiny pimple pops on my back in the middle of the night. And more deep thoughts. What happens if I get scared half to death? Twice. Oh yeah, free mattress. Barely used. Over in another movie, we're gonna pick this dude's brain. Literally. Stop, you're burning it. Our doctor on the left is Dr. Chenard. Actor Kenneth Cranham says he only took the part because his grandson loved the first film and wanted him to be in the sequel. By God, Andy Kaufman's got her in the bear hug. That was a serviceable JR. Maybe Jerry Lawler will show up and save her. Oh, never mind. Oh, she gets us Chenard. He's like, look, this chick is nuts. Totally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But don't just take my word for it.
Wait. That mattress, you've got to destroy that mattress.
Great, now she's getting treated by Screech from Saved by the Bell. Do you kids even remember Saved by the Bell? Christ, I'm old. Kirsty does eventually get some rest, but then she realizes she's late for football practice. And since we're here, we might as well introduce another character. This is Tiffany.
She's been here 6 months. She's a complete mystery. She never speaks.
And I'm sure this isn't gonna be important at all. Now Screech is gonna hook her up with some pills. Oh, thanks, but I'm already pretty baked. Now it's time to hit the hay. Screech is pretty dreamy, but I think he's into Lisa Turtle.
My darling, be my partner. This could be you.
Oh God, I think Seth Rogen is in the radiator. Man, Slim Goodbody is looking rough. Clearly Kirsty is tripping balls right now. Oh God, don't put the blood in your mouth. And now Tiffany's thinking deep thoughts. If you get out of the shower clean, why is the towel you dry off with now considered dirty? Anyway, apparently tasting that blood was the key for Kirsty figuring out who the skin guy was.
It was my father.
Screech, for his part, is freaked out by all of this. Man, that chick is crazy. Why is it called a building if it's already built? After a bunch of jibber-jabber that just rehashes what happened in the first movie, we get another house establishing shot. Man, this is like a Zillow video tour. Well, maybe, if they were selling a house that was also a crime scene. And now Screech is pulling a little B&E. What will Principal Belding think? Not gonna lie, bedbugs are the least of your worries on this thing. Hey, it's John Bon Jovi. I'm no plumber, but I don't think the pipes are supposed to leak like this. Oh, hey, it's Pinhead. These glamour shots sure make him look different. While Screech is snooping, Chenard returns with this guy. Probably just gonna help him fix that psoriasis. Yeah, dude is definitely here to shave the day. And the patient starts going to town on himself with that straight razor. And there's no way I can show that. Too bad for him, the cuts are the least of his worries because all this bleeding has brought something back from the great beyond. But it's okay, they're just gonna do some interpretive dance. Chenard's face basically says it all. House establishing shot. Inside, I'd say Nick Cave had been here, but that's a red left hand. And now things are definitely heating up. Oh, so that's what's under the mummy's bandages. Look, I'm having to be super careful here because PruTube is going to shit a brick if I show basically any part of skinless Julia. Alright, let's wrap this up. Wow, she looks like a sexy version of the Michelin Man. Yeah, I always wanted to do it with the mummy. Come to daddy. I hate to say it, but Julia really has no skin in this game. I mean, she looks plastered. Hey, that's not Linnea Quigley taking a shower. Hey, is Screech here about to violate his medical ethics oath by trying to hook up with Kirsty? Back at Chenard's place, it appears Julia decided to order in for dinner. Hey, how'd she regrow her skin? Frank had to steal his from Kirsty's dad. Meanwhile, Screech and Kirsty are on their first date. Right up here is where we found a stack of soggy penthouses and a couple of unopened cans of Schlitz. Best day ever. Oh, hey, this guy has a sweet collection of lament configurations. Screech heads upstairs to explore, but all he finds is this jump scare. And in here, we have an open concept floor plan we've been using as a slaughterhouse. Weirdest episode of House Hunters ever. I will say, it's totally on brand that a man would just ignore the room full of desiccated corpses if there was even a hint he might get some action from a hot chick, though. Guess they're gonna suck face. Literally. I mean, if Julia was a Hall & Oates song, she'd be a man-eater. When Screech doesn't return, Kirsty sets out to look for him and finds Julia.
You have surprisingly good taste in men.
I think she means that literally since she just ate Screech. And she's moving up in the world.
Now I'm the evil queen.
Then she gives her a taste of her pimp hand. That was a pretty solid pimp hand there. But Chenard has brought his own guest. It's Tiffany. Great, now she's fingering the box.
Hell yeah.
No, not like that, you pervs. She's solving the lament configuration. Yeah, I'm sure this is fine. Chenard is clearly excited about this too.
Hell yeah.
No, he means whatever's on the other side of the gateway the box opens. Great, the whole place is blowing up now. He's current on his homeowner's insurance. Oh, sweet, he had a secret door. And almost an hour into the movie, the Cenobites finally show up. But Pinhead isn't ready to show her any sights yet. Hey, Pinhead, did you just wander in here from a Claudio Fragasso flick? Because that's a lot of fog.
No!
Okay, fine. I was just asking. Man, that's a good 7 years bad luck right there. Chenard and Julia have already wandered into hell, which mostly just looks like a Spirit Halloween store so far. Meanwhile, Kirsty is still recovering from that pimp hand. Damn, she slapped the taste right out of my mouth. But things are about to get worse because the walls are coming down like this is a John Cougar Mellencamp song. Oh, great. Hell is just one giant MC Escher painting, apparently. But on the bright side, at least it has a carnival. Sometimes you just have to get your joy where you can. Hell also seems to have a whole lot of Suspiria lighting. I don't even know what this is, but it's pretty creepy. Oh, sweet, they give Videodrome down here. And now it's like a Go-Go song, because this baby doll's lips are sealed. Oh shit, I think Kirsty got lost. I mean, this place is basically a maze of endless corridors, so that was probably bound to happen. Yeah, this is definitely my idea of hell. I mean, that wallpaper alone is awful. Oh hey, look who found her!
Ah, Kirsty. We thought we'd lost you.
And it turns out the box is kinda useless here.
So sweet of you to come back.
How can it send us back, child? We're already here.
I think the lament configuration just evolved into its final form. If you're wondering what's going on, let's just allow Pinhead to explain.
He is in his own hell, just as you are in yours.
If we were in my hell, there'd be a lot more country music playing. Yeah, this definitely sounds like hell. Just ask any parent.
I have such sights to show you.
See? They really were trying to make Julia the main antagonist of the franchise. They're even giving her Pinhead lines. I, for one, am really glad that didn't pan out. Kirsty, meanwhile, is still lost, but at least she's not alone anymore. And we get some exposition to boot.
You must have opened the box, Tiffany. You've got to close it. You know how the puzzle works. Get us out!
They're working on their exit strategy. Julia and Chenard have found Leviathan, the Lord of Hell. What, you were expecting Lucifer? Parker was never that traditional. And now Chenard's headed to the changing room, but not before Julia tells him her master plan.
It wanted souls. And I brought you.
Yeah, this is going great for him. I mean, look, he's clearly feeling pretty wired. While Chenard is undergoing his makeover, Kirsty has found this.
The house. My father's house.
I wonder what real estate values are like in hell. Seems like a rough neighborhood. Hey, this is no time for patty cake. Lucy, I'm home. God, this place is a real fire hazard. And it's filled with sexy ghosts. Good thing they covered their boobies. Oh god, it's a lipstick. Sure hope she doesn't pull a Linnea Quigley and Night of the Demons with that thing. At any rate, Kirsty thinks she's here to save her dad. But surprise, this is actually Uncle Frank's hell. I mean, to be fair, all of these skinned alive guys look alike. By God, he's trying to lock in the sleeper hold! So the girl ghosts are Frank's personal hell. A bunch of hot chicks he can never have. I mean, that sucks, but he probably deserved a worse fate, all things considered. But she's not having any of Frank's pervy overtures. Instead, she's going all talking heads and burning down the house. Back in her other movie, Julia has Tiffany. How did that happen? You had one job, Tiffany. The fire leaves Frank skinless again, which makes it easier for Julia to give him his annual physical. Cough for me, Frank. Oh yeah, she's a real heartbreaker. Anyway, let's check in on Chenard. I feel like his makeover should be just about done. Oh yeah, looking great.
And to think, I hesitated.
Whoa, did we just change the channel to La Blue Girl? Oh yeah, shit's getting weird. While Chenard's getting his brain tickled, Julia's getting blown.
Hell yeah.
No, not like that. I was gonna say blown away by this wind. And back to the hospital. Tiffany's like, I think I preferred hell, honestly. It's also really wild how little the Cenobites are in this movie. And now they're just gonna walk out of the mental hospital, I guess. Top-notch security, guys. Both of these women were patients. Uh-oh, looks like a front is moving in. It's like an Oprah episode inside too. You get a lament configuration. Everyone gets a lament configuration. Ah, hey, here's Chenard.
The doctor. Is he?
And Tiffany spoke. This stop-motion animation looks pretty dated by today's effects standards, but I still dig it. But things are about to get even worse, because here are the rest of the Cenobites. Pinhead may not have been in this movie much, but he does get some great lines.
Your suffering will be legendary, even in hell.
And what's her big plan? To show him who he used to be. Oh man, I was such a dork back then. What was I thinking? And this next part distressed me almost as much as Darth Vader's redemption at the end of Return of the Jedi.
I remember.
One thing that drove a lot of people nuts about this movie was that they gave Chatterer eyes, after him not having eyes in the first film. It's definitely weird. Turns out actor Nicholas Vince actually asked that eyes be added to the costume. Making things even more confusing was that earlier in this film, he doesn't have eyes. He actually shot a scene where he gets them, but it didn't make it into the final film. While everyone's taking a trip down memory lane, Chenard shows up. And we're about to get a Cenobite showdown. Chenard is definitely hooked on Pinhead, but not for long. And then he's killing everyone, causing them to morph back into their human forms. And in the biggest surprise, Chatterer was actually a little kid. Then he turns Pinhead back to human too. There was a lot of outrage, for lack of a better term, for how Pinhead and his team were so easily defeated. As I understand it, Pete Atkins has always justified this by suggesting they were weakened by the realization they were human. But beyond that, Leviathan had clearly chosen Chenard as a sort of new Pope of Hell as well, so he was theoretically stronger than the older Cenobites. And down goes Pinhead. Or Elliot. Despite the explanation, this still bugs me. Pinhead in particular should have been way harder to kill. So basically, Chenard has brought Leviathan and the Labyrinth to our plane, and only Tiffany can close the box once and for all. Fortunately, Julia's skin still has the box, and now it's time for some flashbacks. Well, that they basically put adult Tiffany in some half-assed pigtails to imply she was younger. While she's trying to solve the puzzle, Chenard's here to help. Give it here, you're doing it all wrong. I really want to know how many drugs you need to do to come up with something like this guy. And he's gonna force her into the Cenobite changing room. Oh shit, Aunt Julia's back? How? Well, they're getting ready to play tonsil hockey. Tiffany grabs the puzzle and solves it. Then, for some weird reason, Chenard loses his head after getting his weird tentacle thing stuck in the floor. Afterwards, Tiffany does her best Luke Skywalker at the end of Empire impression. But don't worry, Julia's here to help. Unfortunately, she's shedding her skin like the snake she is. Except, surprise, she's actually Kirsty wearing the Julia skin suit. But they're not out of the woods yet. I have no idea what any of this is about. It's like Ikaruga or R-Type. But hell is, once again, closed. Huzzah! Well, except all the patients are dead, but that's just collateral damage. We didn't care about them anyway, right? And really, it's all okay because Kirsty and Tiffany lived and are gonna go off and do something, like not be in more of these films. That should be the end, right? Well, not so fast, because I feel a swerve coming. Oh, hey, that's one of the movers from the first film. And he finds the mattress. Or rather, the mattress finds him. And Pinhead lives. And so does this guy. And cue credits. So, what have we learned from Hellbound Hellraiser 2? A whole lot, actually. This one had a really interesting production history with the alternate script, the deleted surgery scene, and Andrew Robinson's refusal to return. This has long been my favorite film of the franchise. I'm a sucker for that cheesy occult apocalyptic grandeur, and it still holds up really well in the 21st century. I feel like the idea to jettison Julia as the main villain of the franchise in favor of Pinhead was the right call. And really, they didn't have much of a choice anyway. Claire Higgins made it clear she wouldn't be back for Hellraiser 3. Probably a smart choice on her part. Revered critic and horror blowhard Roger Ebert hated this movie, which is just one of the many reasons why I never much cared for Roger Ebert. This one's weird and trippy, and the Cenobites don't get enough screen time, but it's still a wildly entertaining gore flick. But enough about that. Can the Cenobites rend enough flesh to earn a coveted 5 barf bag rating? Let's go to the gore card! In terms of gross anatomy, Hellraiser 2 delivers. We're treated to gruesome body modifications, a guy cutting himself with a straight razor, skinless corpses, a slashed throat, plenty of mutilated corpses, 1 decapitation, and probably more I'm forgetting. The effects work is mostly great, and because of that, I'm happy to award Hellbound Hellraiser 2 the full 5 barf bag rating. This is definitely a sick and classic horror flick. Looking for more Pinhead and the Cenobites? Well, you could check out my original Hellraiser video, but that thing got demonetized, so I don't make a penny from it, so don't go there unless you're just really bored. Instead, why not check out my video review of The Void, which feels like a Hellraiser movie. You'll find a link here on the screen. I'll meet you over there. Until next time, I'm Mike Bracken, aka The Horror Geek, bringing you all the splatter that matters.